This is going to be a sad video to make. The AK-47, a gun that I've praised in Modern Warfare for being the perfect balance between high skill and high reward, a gun that I've had so much fun customizing, playing around with, playing with in core mode, hardcore mode, realism mode, a gun that I simply just think is well designed in Modern Warfare, has been overthrown. The AMAX is simply better, and unfortunately in this short video I'm gonna have to go over why, and then also why this pisses me off. First things first, the AK is better in at least two respects that I can think of off the top of my head. Its ability to two-shot headshot at any range, and the ability to run a 75 round mag. The AMAX doesn't have those things. And now I have to complain about how the AMAX is better. And also, it's annoying because I like the AMAX. Okay, so the AMAX in Modern Warfare is a very, very competent weapon. It fires a bit faster than the AK and the SCAR, it can two-shot headshot up to a pretty good range. You know, there's stat videos out there you can watch, I'm not going to go into that too much. Also, the recoil, even though it looks heavy, is very much vertical and easy to control, and yeah, it's a better SCAR, and it's definitely a better AK. The AK has more recoil and a lower fire rate, and that's two things that completely make it counter-meta in Modern Warfare. Now, the SCAR is a bit better than the AK in terms of overall usage, except for its ammo. The SCAR's ammunition and overall weight is really what hurts the SCAR, and why I never think it's gonna work in the meta, because ammo is such an important part of Modern Warfare. The game has weapons like the Kilo, M4, M13, the Ram, the Grau, weapons that can have 50 or 60 round magazines. They fire quickly, they don't kick very much, and they're very, very versatile, especially for 6v6 gameplay. You know, you really can't compare that to 30 round mags on slower firing, higher recoil weapons. I don't care how much damage they do, you're going to get out DPS'd while you're trying to land accurate upper torso and headshots. You know, other weapons in this game are gonna outclass you. And what irritates me is that Modern Warfare now has a rifle that's just better. It's just flipping better than the AK and the SCAR. It just does what those guns do, but better. The only thing it doesn't have is long-range capabilities, but I play 6v6 multiplayer, so while I would probably rather have the AK in Warzone, just because of that really long-range two-shot headshot, and if I'm going to be tap-firing somebody at a distance, I'm probably going to use the AK, but still, the AMAX fires considerably faster. Being able to put more rounds downrange is better than being able to land 2 to the head, and that's just honestly, it's a fact. Yeah, I could go for two-shot headshots at any range, or, you know, down people quicker, but no, like, the AMAX is gonna pump more bullets out, alright? And it's gonna be easier to control while doing so. The nice thing about the AK is it's now very, very snappy. It aims down sight faster, and that makes it better, but honestly, the AK still, when it comes to the actual shooting the gun aspect of it, it's just putting out less damage per second. It's just shooting slower, and you can't really remedy that. It's not shooting very fast, and it's kicking a whole hell of a lot. And yeah, that damage is nice, but the AMAX fires at 645 rounds per minute, according to Exclusive Ace's chart here. The AK fires at 561 rounds per minute, and that's just, it's too low. It's too much lower. Now, the AK's conversion kit is a different story. The AK's conversion kit fires at 690, which is about 50 rounds per minute faster than the AMAX, roughly. And that's great and all, but you're limited to 30 rounds, whereas the AMAX can have 45, and the AMAX doesn't need a conversion kit. You don't need to waste an attachment to get a 30-round magazine of higher fire rate, 3-shot killing potential. So while the conversion kit is great with the AK-47 because of that ability to get 3-shot kills at 690 RPM, at that point, you are better off, in my opinion, using something like a Kilo or an M4, something that shoots considerably faster, but needs an extra shot to kill, is technically more practical. Especially when you consider they can double the magazine count. So yeah, the Kilo needs 4 shots to kill, but it's doing that at 779 RPM with less recoil and potentially 100 or 60 round magazine. Yeah, so the conversion kit is, in my opinion on the AK, I like that it's better, and it is a viable choice, but it's simply just not an optimal choice when running an AR. Because if I have to use a magazine attachment slot already, I might as well use a higher fire rate weapon and give it 60 rounds, than take a low fire rate weapon and speed it up. There's really no use in a lot of these conversion kits because of this very reason. Because even if this conversion kit was better, you have to waste an attachment slot just to change the usage of the gun. And that blows. But if we go away from Modern Warfare's high rate of fire, low recoil meta, we can just talk about the fact that the AMAX is just the AK, but more versatile, and just better overall for 6v6 and ground war game modes. The AK is better with headshots at a distance and can have 75 rounds. And now that it aims down sight faster, those are great reasons to use the AK. The AK isn't useless, but when I'm using the AK now, I want to use the AMAX. So I had a play session where I was using the AK, and then I switched to the AMAX the next game, and the AMAX just felt considerably better. The recoil was easier to control, the rate of fire was faster, and I was still dealing really good damage out to longer ranges. So I did not have a problem using the AMAX. Going back to the AK really pissed me off. So when you go from the AMAX to the AK feels way too slow, and it feels like, wow, I should just be using the AMAX. I should just be putting out more damage per second. And that's just what I should be doing. But then, if you use the AMAX for long enough, you start getting used to it, you like it, then go ahead and switch to an M4. And it's night and day. And this is sort of an issue with the meta, but it's also just an issue with these types of guns in general. And it's the reason that like Modern Warfare needs to increase the recoil on guns like the Grau, the M4, the Ram. They need to have more recoil because the M4, yeah, needs an extra shot to kill. But an extra shot to kill with 833 rounds per minute coming out of it doesn't really matter. And also, the MP5 up close can 3-shot at 833 rounds per minute, and the AMAX is 3-shotting at 645, so the MP5 is still going to outgun you. Now, I knew I said I was going to move away from talking about the meta, but these are all very frustrating things. My big problem is that the SCAR, in my opinion, was already kind of lackluster. It needed its base magazine things increased, it needed to be a lighter weight gun, I think it needed a nice 45-round 5.56 conversion kit, something like that, to really bring the SCAR in and make it more worthwhile. But no, the SCAR has been sort of left out to dry. I think it's still a very lackluster weapon to use, especially now that the AMAX is here. And the AK is, again, it's very good. I think it's better than the SCAR. I like it a lot, but the AMAX is just better. It's just easier. And it's annoying because now 2 guns have been dethroned, in my opinion. There are just 2 guns that got completely dethroned. You could go SCAR, AK, depending on your playstyle. Now, if you play 6v6 or 10v10, just run the AMAX. And if you guys can tell I'm talking a little fast, it's because I'm mad and I drank too much coffee. I don't like them adding weapons that fuck over other weapons. The AMAX is good, and I like that it's good. It's fun to use. It's my heavy AR of choice now. But it's the same problem with the SKS. The SKS is also really great. I love using the SKS. But the SKS killed the EBR. It straight up killed the EBR. There's no reason to run the EBR now. Unless you want really long-range one-shot headshots, which in that case, run a fucking sniper rifle. How do you, as a game developer, sit down, look at all of your weapons and all of their stats and the places they fit in, and then say to yourself, you know what, let's add these guns that are just considerably better. And if you say, well, it's because people will buy them, it's like, you don't have to buy them though. People won't spend money they don't have to spend. But it is a business decision. People are more likely to hop on and grind for weapons they hear are very good than weapons they hear are kind of mediocre. Like, grinding for the VLK shotgun and the crossbow was sort of frustrating because I knew I wasn't really working towards something that I'm going to use that often. On the flip side, they added something like the Striker, which fills no role in the SMG category and is kind of a pointless gun to have. So I don't know why the Striker was added, and I don't know why stuff like the SKS and the AMAX have to be added. Why do you have to add stuff that's pointless or add things that completely overshadow other guns? One of the reasons I think is because this game launched with so many weapons that all fill certain roles, and then they've just been piling stuff on top of it, and yeah, they're either going to be better or worse. There's really no other, role that needs to be filled. There's no weapon that's like, oh, we don't have it yet. Well, sort of. We needed a burst or automatic pistol, so we got that. We needed a heavy semi-auto sniper rifle, we have that too. But now I'm really struggling to think of what they could add to the game because there's not much else that they could put in the game that's necessary. So shout out to the AMAX for killing one of my favorite guns and putting the final nail in the coffin of another one. And that is, of course, respectively the AK and SCAR. So, that's the end of this video. I'm a little irritated, as you guys can tell. I'm a little flustered talking about this because I can't pretend anymore. I can't pretend the AK is super worth using because even though I went out to make this video to say I want the AK to be good. I want it to be worth using. I don't know. When I use the AK and the AMAX in the same play session, I do considerably better and have an easier time with the AMAX. So, thank you guys for watching this video. I will see you when I see you. Sorry if you don't like this sort of like ranty style of video, but I decided to say fuck the script and just say I tried to prove the AK right, but I can't. See you when I see you, kids. Goodbye.